Welcome back to My Car Shop. Today, we're going to address some of the concerns you guys have raised about the fabricating that's been going on the 70 Challenger project. Let's watch the show intro, and we'll see you on the other side.
Working out of a 100-year-old refurbished barn, bringing 35 years of experience to projects considered beyond repair. Vision, creativity, and problem solving are essential tools in this place. Watch as we transform junk into polished metal miracles. This is My Cars Shop.
So over the last few months, several people have raised questions and concerns about the project and the way I'm doing this on the 70 Challenger. So I thought I would go into a little bit more of just how I'm doing it, why I'm doing it, and what are the key points to watch for and what to be concerned about on a unibody car when you're doing quote-unquote patchwork like I've been doing on this. First of all, I will say don't do as I do. I'm just here to demonstrate what I do. You guys find this entertaining. I know you're learning a lot about fabrication, but if anything else, this is entertainment, and it's definitely not a you should do it this way. This is what I do. So I'm not sitting here saying that this is a recommended way of doing things. I just really wanted the challenge of doing this car like this. Now I know I've said that before many times. A lot of you that have been around the channel have heard me say that multiple times, and you're going to hear me continue saying that because we are in the early stages of channel growth and we're picking up new subscribers all the time. So I want to be sure that everybody's clear on what this is about. So again, to reiterate, sorry guys, it's a junk car that came out of a pile in a junkyard that was rusted pretty much to what most people would think is beyond repair. And me being the crazy, insane person that I am, I thought I would just go ahead and make the pieces for the car by hand, at least as far as structural frame, floor pans, and things like that. I am going to buy some of the body panels. You've already seen that I purchased a quarter panel. I've been talking with my friend John out in California. He may have a door, I'm hoping. That's going to work out. So I won't need to use and rebuild my driver's door. I'm probably going to use the fenders that I have. They're pretty decent. So the cosmetic stuff, the outside stuff, I'm probably going to purchase some of that, but the inside stuff, I'm going to make almost all of it. And that's because I enjoy doing it. But there's been some concern about strength and integrity of the chassis of the car doing this the way I'm doing. So I would like to just address that today, talk a little bit about it. I quite frankly have a crazy week going this week. I don't have a lot of time to be working on the car hands-on, but this was something that's been on my mind for a while, and I wanted to take some time and address those issues and talk about key strength points in a unibody car and what to watch for and what to be concerned about, or at least what I'm watching for and what I'm concerned about. So let's take you over to the car and we'll start talking about that a little bit. Okay, so, in previous episodes, and you can find those, I think up there, up here, I don't know. Anyway, somewhere, they're on the channel. You can find those someplace. We started out in this car by replacing this one gas tank mount floor pan support here in the back, and that was just to get my feet wet again with fabricating. Then we moved on and we replaced this piece of frame rail from here to about here with a handmade piece that I made. You can see that episode as well if you're not familiar with it. Then we moved on up to the front, and I'll show you that. From that point we moved up here and we rebuilt by hand this piece of curved frame rail that comes from up just almost to the top up there and rolls down to the floor pan down here. So the reason I'm sharing all of that with you, and oh, by the way, then we made this piece of floor pan also using a piece out of another car and hand fabricating everything on the right from about here over. Again, all these episodes are here if you haven't seen. Pardon the review if you have, but I'm going somewhere with this. I'm well aware of how much a unibody car is integrated, meaning it's not just the frame rail that gives this car support. In many ways on this car, the frame rail is an attachment for support, things like floor pans, wheel tubs, quarter panels, and it's all integral the way it fits together. So, for example, part of the strength of this quarter panel is right in here in this wheel well, where the quarter panel attaches to the inner wheel well, and if that's not intact like this isn't, some of the structural integrity of the car is definitely compromised. Another spot is inside here, and I'll show you that. So inside of here, where this frame attaches to the floor, that's obviously not here yet, but where it attaches in here is also integral. And this is a little bit weak in here, but I have a plan for that you'll see that will help strengthen this some, which gives more rigidity to this frame rail and will tie it in here more. This wheel tub is in good shape, but definitely this floor pan flexes in here as well. So a few episodes I mentioned down in here I was getting some movement, and it's a significant amount of movement, a significant amount of movement between here because it's not attached to the quarter panel, and because down in here this is all rotted out and not attached to the back of the car. That's where a lot of structural integrity also is, but it certainly isn't all of it. So right now, if I was to go under this car and push up on this frame rail, you're going to see a significant amount of movement in here. Like I said, I think I was noticing probably about an inch of movement, which is where most of my movement in the quarter panel, where it's bowing and buckling, is coming from, and I know that. But it's not just this, it's all of this together where it gains its strength. Excuse me. So I obviously need to make this piece of inner quarter panel extension so that where that piece off the back, the bumper support extension thing, whatever you want to call it, where it ties in, we will be making, which is something like this. Probably not going to reuse any of this. I'll probably just make a new piece by hand for this, and we'll make that where it ties in back in here. That helps support all of this. And again, we need to replace most of this back here, maybe the whole thing, I'm not sure, and that will be coming very soon on another episode. So what's happening right now, and it's partly where it ties into the floor as well, it's moving up in here, as I said, it's moving back here, so the body and the frame are moving somewhat together like this, and that's all expected. None of this surprises me. It's because part of it is also, it's not tied into the floor yet because there is no floor up there, and so the frame rail itself is rigid, and it is kind of doing pivoting. There, let's do it this way. The frame rail is kind of pivoting up there like this right now because the piece that it's attached to up front is still not supported and tied into the floor pan or the floor pan up here. So it all works together to provide unibody cars structural integrity. So you can't ignore one part of all of this. It all fits together. So I know the frame rail is definitely not flexing, even though it's only tacked in where it's up at the top of the hoop. I've definitely looked that over to just verify where my movement is. It's where I suspected it was going to be, mostly back here. Tying this in is going to eliminate, I would say, 50% of that movement, but also tying it in up front. So there's a lot to this, where there's a lot of points that are integral. It's all based upon boxes and triangles and things tied together. Where in a traditional frame car, the frame itself has rigidity to a point. Even on the 47 Ford, we boxed part of that frame when we did that car to take some of the flex out, because even a full frame car it'll bow, it'll flex, and you add strength. So I know there's been a lot of concern about that, and I wanted to spend some time talking about that today on this episode because I am aware of it. It's not my first rodeo with these cars, and I just I appreciate the comments. It always makes me double check myself, so I'm not saying, don't comment. There are people out there with a ton more experience than me. I've been doing this for nearly 40 years in one way or another, as I've said, but there are people that do a lot more of it who may be younger than me too, and they have more experience. But I really am challenging the idea here of a couple of things. So let's talk about that briefly. I've always been a person to make things. I've certainly have replaced parts. I grew up in the era of being a mechanic that we did more fixing of things than we did replacing of things. And I watched that industry switch from being technicians who repair to parts replacers. Some of that is because parts you can't take them apart and fix them anymore. Some of that is because it isn't cost effective. That's definitely a factor in what I'm doing here. If somebody was to bring me their car and say, I want you to hand fabricate everything, we'd probably be getting a lot closer to that $75,000 bill episode that I did a while ago about how much it costs to restore one of these cars. It probably would be more than that. I would be buying the frame rails, I would be buying the floor pans. But somebody made a point, and I can apologize, I try to remember whose names are who, but like I said, the last while I've been just really busy. This is actually the first day I've been in the shop for almost a week. Hopefully that's going to calm down soon here, but anyway, somebody made the comment that on one of the floor pan episodes, that even when you buy the parts, you still have to do a lot of work to get them to fit. And that's absolutely true. Very few things fit directly out of the box. I'm not saying none do. I'm not saying there aren't some companies that don't do a really good job of making things that fit. But in my experience, in all the cars I've done, both personally and professionally, everything requires massaging. Everything requires tweaking. Some things you have to cut and fit. And I remember one set of floor pans I did on a car, and I don't remember what it was anymore. I actually had to pie slice the floor pan and restitch it back together again because it just wasn't fitting properly and it was out of whack. That's all part of this. So even if you do buy the parts, you're not necessarily going to get away from doing some fabricating to make things work and having to massage things and trim things down. So in hand fabricating stuff, obviously I have more time in it, and I don't care about that because time doesn't mean that much to me when I'm doing something like this for the reasons that I've mentioned before. But I don't want to lead anybody astray and think that if you were to purchase a floor pan or a trunk pan, that it's going to just fall right in place and you can just weld it in and that's it. Because that's not true. So that was a very good comment and I appreciated that. But yes, absolutely, it's a real thing that you can't just expect that putting this frame rail in this car is going to fix its structural integrity issues, because it needs a trunk floor, it needs a quarter panel extension, it needs a new quarter panel, it needs the wheelhouse, it needs the floor pan up front. I'm going to be putting subframe connectors in there, as I've mentioned that before. That's going to help where that frame comes down, as I said, and it's kind of flexing. If this was the rear of the car, and it's kind of flexing on that, once I tie that into a subframe connector, that's going to help. It's not going to eliminate it 100%. All of it together should. Now, do I have a backup plan should I still have some flex issues in this car when I'm done? Of course I do. I didn't think I went into this without thinking. Well, not thinking much. I try not to. It hurts too bad, but of course I went into it with a plan B just in case. Am I going to tear everything back out and go ahead and put frame rails in it? No way. No way. I have a $250 solution for all of this that'll fix it 100%, guaranteed. And I bet John knows what it is, don't you? Anybody else? Right? Put a roll cage in it. It ain't that big a deal. So if I do have body flex in this car that I'm not comfortable with, they all have some, but if I do have some body flex in this car that I'm not comfortable with and I cannot get it out through what I'm doing, I'm going to spend $250 at Jegs and get a 6-point roll bar, put in this thing, and it's fixed. So of course I had another plan in case this didn't work. And that's part of my point today in this is think it through. If you're going to fabricate something and it doesn't work, then maybe you're going to have to tear it back out and replace it, or have a plan B like I do with this car. Do I want to put a roll cage in it? No. Will I? Of course I will. It ain't that big a deal. Again, I'm not making a restoration here. I'm making a driver. And I do enjoy driving a car on the street with a roll cage because I have one and I do drive that car on the street and I have a lot of fun with it. And there's going to be an episode coming on that car soon. Once life settles down here a little bit, some of this is going to be put on hold and that car is going to be pulled into the shop here, and a couple things so that we can take you for a cruise in that car. I'm looking forward to it. So yes, of course I have a plan B. Do I think I'm going to need to enact that plan B? No, I really don't. But I do have that plan. So anyway, I wanted to just take some time and talk about how integral, that's a hard word. Integral, all integrity, integral, yeah, whatever the heck that word is, look it up. How integral it all is, that everything works together. I know that. So I can't ignore the wheelhouse. I can't ignore the fact that I may need to do a little more work between the frame rail and the wheel tub in there to reinforce things. Obviously, subframe needs to be put in this car because it is a little weaker than a car if I put all new sheet metal in it. But I don't mind putting subframe connector in it. It helps a lot. And I'm going to put the through the floor type. You'll see that. I'm not going to put the ones in that go under the floor because, again, it's a driver and I don't care. That's going to be a fun car. So just to clarify, what I was saying is I know right now we're getting twist in here, and it's because the other half of that's not there and the floor pan isn't here to help reinforce that. Once there's a subframe coming in here that ties this together right in here, that's going to also help give that rigidity. You'll notice right here where the jack stand is, there is no support from there back. And even on this side, which is all intact, the inner wheel well is in good shape. The frame is a bit punky. This quarter panel does have just a little teeny bit of flex in it. I really have to push on it. Is this a natural position on the suspension on this car? Of course not. So do I expect to eliminate that 100%? As thin as this metal is? No, but when I'm done with it, should it be better than that? Yes. Now, how much is there? It's minuscule. And quite frankly, I'm guessing they all do that. If you put them up here on a jack stand and you really start reefing down on the back, I'm thinking, just because of the leverage, that you're going to see a little bit of movement in the metal here. It's not designed to be tweaked down that way. It's designed to carry weight both in the back and on the front. If this car was launched really hard, the pull up is going to be up in here, not back here. So again, it's not going to be flexing. The back end of the springs on these cars is just along for the ride. It's not doing anything other than floating along. The work on a Mopar is always, the spring weight is carried in the back, and the front of the spring is mostly where it's stiff for traction. That's the way a Mopar works, which is different than a GM. I won't get into spring theory now, but just wanted to mention that. So when it's on its own feet and you're pushing down on the back of the car, I know for a fact there's no flex on this side and there's very little on that side because that's the way the car is designed. Should I see movement in here? No, not maybe minuscule amounts. Yes, I do agree with that. I think I could do that on any of these unibody cars here. Put it up in the air, put a jack there, and push down on the back, and you're going to see a little bit of movement. The exception would be the GTS because that's the one that has the roll cage in it. And those cars are solid, all of them are. So again, it's unibody, it's the way it's designed, that's the way they work, and everything it works together to provide the structural integrity of the car. So the frame rails themselves are as much a conduit to the structural integrity as they provide it. It's not the only means by which these cars achieve their chassis stiffness. That's one of the reasons why people put subframe connectors in these cars, to keep them from twisting. It helps prevent that because these cars do move around a lot. They're all made out of sheet metal. So I hope that helps clear some things up and maybe provided some information that some of you hadn't thought about or didn't know in the way a unibody car works. You know, a frame rail is not just a frame rail in these cars. That's the bottom line. There's a lot more to it than that. And I hadn't talked about that up to this point. So I don't want to lead you guys astray in thinking that you could put a patch on a unibody frame like this and it's going to fix everything without doing floor pans and wheel tubs, and it's all part of it. And it's all important. So a few other things I wanted to talk about. Over here, you notice a stack of 3 pipes, 5-inch, I think it's 3-inch and 2 1/4, maybe, ish. That's the material to build my pipe anvil. And if you don't know what a pipe anvil is, stick around the channel, you're going to learn, or you can just search for it on YouTube. There are a lot of other people out there that have them. but I have the materials to make a 5-foot long pipe anvil for doing sheet metal work, and I think you're going to want to see how that works. So I'll probably dedicate an episode to building that, how I'll do it, and demonstrating how it's used, and of course we'll be using it on the channel as well as we move forward in making parts on this car. In another couple weeks, I have hopefully another piece of equipment coming for the shop. Right now the ground is too muddy where the guy lives for me to get it out. I'm hoping it doesn't need to be repaired or rebuilt. It's a piece of vintage shop equipment. I'll just leave it at that. So I'm excited about that. I have been looking for one of these for probably close to 10 years, and I'm glad to have finally found one. My good buddy Jim located it for me and got me in connection with the owner, and I made the deal on it, and we're just waiting for the ground to dry up enough here in this soupy, muddy area that we live in so that we can get a tractor back there and get that piece of equipment hauled out and brought over here to the shop. One more thing that I want to mention also is I have purchased another part for the Challenger, which I'm very excited about. And I have to make a trip across the country anyway at the end of this week, and that part is waiting for me at the destination where I will be coming. Some of you might know what that means. I'll hint. Who knows that? Duddy, I bet you do. So anyway, I need to make that trip. That's not for the purpose of getting that part, but that's where the part is, and I hope to do a short excerpt on that when I get there, so I'll just leave it at that. I'm excited. I've been looking for that part for a long time. It's one of the pieces that was missing that's pretty important for this car. So I'm excited to share that with you. Hopefully next week, maybe on the channel, we'll have that there. I'm always the one saying too much talk, and that's definitely what this episode has been, but like I said, it was easy for me to take 20 minutes or whatever this has been and come out here and share some answers to those concerns that some of you had, or maybe questions you've had that you hadn't voiced. Crap. Brain fart. Now I remember. Just wanted to just mention something else also about the channel itself. You'll notice that I've been putting videos out on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. That's my production schedule. That's what I'm hoping to continue, but I may not always be able to do that. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get out a episode for a Friday and for Sunday this week because of my traveling. We'll see. I may be able to, but here's my point. The priorities for me always are Friday videos. Fridays are always number one because that starts out the weekend, and that's when our number one viewership is. So something's going to have to probably be pretty wrong for me not to get an episode out on Fridays. Number two is the Sunday episode because, again, it's the weekend. I know a lot of people like to catch up on their YouTube on Sunday, and I like to provide another video on Sundays for that. So Tuesdays are definitely the tertiary videos. Those are the ones that I probably most normally will skip if I have to, although again it has to do with scheduling. So for example, this week I may not get a Sunday episode done because of travel. However, neither here nor there. Just wanted to give you that little bit of information so you know what to watch for. I try to launch at 7 o'clock in the morning on Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, and 7 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday. So those videos are out there and ready for you guys when you're ready to watch them. So in that light, I want to say thank you. We're continuing to get new subscribers. We're approaching 360 subscribers now, and the channel continues to grow. I appreciate that. The watch time continues to go up. We're doing great on achieving our goals. Hopefully within the next 6 months, we're going to hit that magic 1,000 mark, and I'm looking forward to that. When I look at the statistics, the channel really started growing in about November, December, and has just continued to do that exponentially ever since. Previous to that, quite frankly, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, so it took me a while to figure it out. So a lot of those early episodes previous to November, they're pretty bad. I know that, but I'm leaving them there for historical archive purposes. And you can watch the paint and body work on the 47 and even the early Challenger episodes. I know some of you guys have started at episode 1, and I give you credit for sticking with it to get to what I think are much better episodes. The last 15 episodes, 20 episodes maybe, are a lot better than those first ones. So anyway, that's enough yakking for today. I want to get this episode put together. I really need to get back into my office and the house and get a bunch of work done for some customers with one of my businesses. And so it's been busy, and I've only got 2 more days this week in the shop, and then we're on the road, or in the air, I should say. So thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Drop those questions and comments down there. If you haven't liked the video, boop, 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 please do that. Again, if you haven't subscribed, please do that. Hit the bell so you receive notifications, and you'll stay up to date on all of the projects we have going here around My Car Shop. There's more coming on the Oakland. There's film in the can. I just haven't had time to put that together. Hopefully I can get that done soon. There's a lot more work being accomplished on that car behind the scenes. We're on Facebook and we're on Instagram /My Car Shop. Wait, don't go anywhere. It's a good channel. You guys tell me that. So when this video is done, click some of those links that are up here, or some of those recommendeds at the end, or just go back and pick a playlist and play. There's 120 plus videos on the channel now. And you guys motivate me, you keep me going, and I appreciate it. And so from the bottom of my heart, I say thank you very much, and I'll keep putting it out if you guys keep watching it. And we're moving forward on these projects at a great rate, and in a large degree, that's because you guys keep me going. So, all right, I'll shut up. You guys watch some other videos, and rah!